As I said, it's another great day in the USA, and today is going to be a great day together. We have Wendy Rogers right here in studio with us, joining us to talk about her run for U.S. Congress against, you got it, Kyrsten Sinema of Congressional District 9 right here in Arizona. And she says she very well could be the solution. She brings some great ideas to the table. She wants to be a part of the answer, and says she's ready to take on the powers that be and return this country back to the great nation that once was. And, Wendy, we've known each other. First of all, thank you for joining us this afternoon.
It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. We've known it. When did we meet? 3 years ago?
Oh, I'm sure.
It was
Maybe
2 or 3 years. I think it was,
that.
3 years or more. And we met at some various engagements. And, these are just exciting times. Wife, mother, retired Air Force lieutenant colonel, and a business owner. Tell me about this Air Force lieutenant colonel thing. I mean, I'm fascinated by it.
Well, it's an honor to have served. I came into the Air Force in 76, served 20 years until 1996, Air Force ROTC, Michigan State University, go green, go white.
Oh.
And
so I better not tell her, my go blue background.
Yeah.
My
probably
father
should just
stay away from that.
Let's just move on.
The rest of the family, of course, are ASU Sun Devils. My husband, Hal, got his master's in engineering at ASU. Both of our children, George and Emily, got their bachelor's degrees at ASU. We retired here from the Air Force in the mid-'90s to open our small business, which we still have going strong, a home inspection business. To be honest, it would be difficult today to start a small business.
Yeah, very difficult.
We have numerous employees. Still, we've weathered the ups and downs of the real estate industry. It is very tough to meet payroll, though, and most Americans understand that the encroachment of the government has just made it increasingly difficult to be able to get ahead. We are paying our taxes to be able to cover one's tax bill. I just read an article today. It takes us well into the month of April before one's tax bill is covered.
Right.
How sad.
Yeah, it really is sad. And I know that you have a lot of solutions that you wish to bring to the table as you attempt to unseat Kyrsten Sinema. What motivates you to run? I mean, there's so much going on in this country. An individual who wants to run so much on their shoulders that you likely will promise to go back to Washington, D.C. and wreak a little havoc and ruffle some feathers out there. And that's actually precisely what we need. But what really motivates you to run?
I want to serve my country. It's really in my DNA to do that. I'm a fifth-generation career military officer dating all the way back to my great-great-grandfather in the Civil War. I've already been with two careers. I've already been a military officer for 20 years. I've been a small business owner now for 17, 18 years. Lord knows I'm not going to be a career politician by virtue of already having had two careers. Everywhere I go, the audiences tell me there is something wrong in our country. And they tell me that politicians, by and large, lack integrity, backbone, willingness to make the tough choices. And we are now currently represented right here in this District 9 by a congresswoman who goes with the wind. She voted with 12 Republicans to delay the individual mandate of Obamacare. She voted with 14 Republicans to raise the work week number to 39 hours a week. This is someone who is pandering to look moderate, but who is anything but moderate. Someone who is as left as a woman can be.
Now, you've taken the oath. You've already taken the oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. I know that means something to you. Tell me about what you think going on in Washington, D.C., and perhaps not just in Washington, D.C., but at all levels of government, where individuals step in, they've taken an oath, but that oath really doesn't seem to mean much anymore. And I think you're seeing this groundswell taking place in America saying the promise, the oath has to mean something. Tell us a little bit about what that means to you and what it is that you will do once you get back to D.C. that's going to drive, where the oath will drive you to action.
Absolutely. I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And by the way, when I take that oath as the next Congresswoman, I'll take that oath on the Bible, which Kyrsten Sinema refused to do. I will give my life for my country, and I take that oath unflinchingly.
Why do you think that Kyrsten refused to do something like that? I mean, is this political? Is this something that she truly believes in? I know you're suggesting that's something that we should look to, that tells us a lot about her character. But we see some people rising up and distancing themselves from certain philosophies, certain ideologies. And I think it is a wake-up call. It's important for us to look at character and the foundation of a person's personality. And you see Kyrsten Sinema doing things like this. And I think it's awfully difficult for someone to make the argument that, yeah, she's all about the oath to the Constitution. It's very difficult to do that as you watch what's going on. As you said earlier, Wendy, is kind of putting your finger up and measuring the direction of the wind, and that's the direction I'm going to go.
Exactly. You have to look at the roots of where someone hails from. And if someone like Miss Sinema forsakes her faith, forsakes the willingness to take one's oath on the Bible, forsakes the core fundamental tenets of her upbringing and character, then you have to look at how then she would represent us. And so it fits that she has pandered to try to appear as a chameleon moderate. You have to hearken back to what people are looking for these days. You cannot be all things to all people. You must demonstrate unflinching integrity and backbone. And that's not to say everyone will agree with me when I'm elected on stances I will take, but they will know where I stand, why I stand, and what I've done in my life as an entrepreneur and as an officer in the Air Force and as a mother and a grandmother, what I stand for. And I'll tell you just one last thing. Our second grandchild was born last August. Cute little boy, Jack. Symbolically, though, when he was born, there was an ankle bracelet around his leg that said, "You owe the United States government $30,000 to $50,000 for being born in America."
Absolutely.
That is wrong.
That's absolutely tragic. You're right. Every man, woman, and child in America owes something back to the government on the order of $30,000 to $50,000, and probably more than that. And it's an absolute shame. Wendy, I want to take you to the State of the Union address that just happened a few months back. And there was a comment that was made by the president where he said, if Congress won't work with me, I will move unilaterally. Just as disturbing as the statement was the fact that other congressmen and congresswomen stood up, gave him a standing ovation. They applauded him for acknowledging that he would steal their power away from them. And they appeared to have no problem with that. I think what people want to know is, what will you and others like you do when you go back to D.C. to resist what it is that these congressmen and congresswomen have no problem doing to assist the president in carrying out his agenda?
I think that stems from wanting to get reelected. And the founders wanted citizen representatives to go to Congress, not with the idea of getting reelected, but to do what is right. And one has to go to Congress with one's country and district at the forefront of one's mind, not worry about getting reelected. And it brings to mind the fact that President Obama came here to this district some months ago, came to the Ahwatukee area.
Yes, he did, yeah.
And guess who wasn't there to meet him? Our Congresswoman. She was not even in country. Why? Because it didn't look good to be up on the stage with him. Excuse me, but when you take an oath to represent your district, it doesn't matter if the president is a Democrat or a Republican. You need to go and represent us to him, because that's important, because you have to respect the office. You have to respect the foundation of this country.
Do you see there being a constitutional crisis going on in this country? And if the answer is yes, what will you do to help fix that? Because I think I know the answer to the question. I've talked to you enough to know that you do believe that there is a crisis. But just as important is, how do we fix this thing? How do we bring this country back to its foundational roots so that we can start to live as the founders intended? That is, being able to enjoy more freedom and less government, and being able to be responsible for our own choices. How do we get back there?
We embrace individualism. We embrace American exceptionalism. Government's job is not to create jobs, but to get out of the way. In terms of regulation, we are being crushed with regulation, taxation, so that entrepreneurs cannot breathe. They cannot create jobs. And this has added to the cost of living for all Americans, not just business owners who create 7 out of 10 jobs in the United States. One has to go to Congress, again, with unflinching backbone to do what is right, to get government out of the way. And that is born of political will. We do not have that in the executive branch. We must take the Senate so that the House of Representatives and the Senate can at least slow this encroachment, this ability that the president gloats about, being able to use his pen and pick up the phone. It's scary. But if we can't at least put the brakes on that and slow that, we've got a real problem.
Absolutely. Joining me in studio is Wendy Rogers. She is running for U.S. Congress against Kyrsten Sinema of Congressional District 9 right here in Arizona. Can you give our listeners just an idea of where Congressional District 9 is?
Yes, it's kind of like a backwards letter C. It starts up in Sunny Slope, arches down through Arcadia Biltmore, includes a little bit of South Scottsdale, and then the longitudinal part of the C, if you will, is all of Tempe, and then kind of on the shoulder of the C is about a third of Mesa. On the rump of the C is about a quarter of Chandler, and then it arches around to the west again and includes all of Ahwatukee. It's about a third Republican, a slight edge to Republican voter registration, about a third independent, and about a third Democrat. It is comprised of parts of other older districts. After redistricting, of course, it was added on as our new Arizona 9th District. So it's our brand new district. I actually live in the district, right in the middle, in Tempe, near rural and southern. That's where we own our business and raised our children.
And what is your website, Wendy? Where can people find out more about your run and what it is that you're doing and various issues that you are concerned about?
It is my name, wendyrogers.org. Wendy, like the hamburgers, Rogers, ROGERS.org, wendyrogers.org. And a map of the district and all my stances and so forth are on there. And by way of update, we have been incredibly blessed. We have had over 1,300 people from across the whole United States donate to my campaign. Why? Because we are now one of the top 20 Republican congressional challenger campaigns in the United States. This is a historic midterm opportunity chance to pick up a seat that is absolutely winnable, and polling is showing it to be more and more winnable as we go.
Do you anticipate that Kyrsten Sinema will engage in debates with candidates on the other side, or do you think she's just going to tuck tail and run?
If I were she, I would tuck tail and run. She likes to run in the Ironman.
Yeah, take off and go. I want to ask you about some of the scandals that we've been dealing with. We've dealt with a number of them over the last year, and government refuses to take responsibility. This administration refuses to take responsibility. I mean, we've had the NSA, we've had the IRS, we've had the AP scandal, the James Rosen, Benghazi. The list goes on and on and on. And we don't seem to be doing a very good job of really pushing the issue on these things. Tell us about some of the things you're concerned about, maybe some of the scandals that have unfolded, and what it is that you will do.
The scandal that is overarchingly scariest to me is the IRS, because they have their fingers in everyone's pocketbook. And it's being used as a weapon, as we've already seen with Lois Lerner and so forth. That scares me the most because it reaches into everybody's pocket. And when government uses an agency as a weapon, we have a real problem. The other thing you point to is government responsibility. Who is the government? It's just this monstrosity that's spread over many agencies and many people. And how convenient. No one's really responsible that way. It's as though the government is this entity, but it really isn't. It's just this sprawling, controlling amoeba that keeps expanding. And how does someone... It's as though you call a 1-800 number and you can't get a human on the other line.
Right.
That's scary.
Well, you look at the IRS, and what is really concerns me as well about the IRS is they continue to stifle speech. Right? This country was founded upon the idea that we're all inherently free and that we should be able to speak our mind and even speak out against government. And here you have an entity that is making it very clear we will stifle your speech if we uncover that, in fact, your speech doesn't fit with our agenda. And I think there can be no question. I mean, I know at one point there was a conspiracy theory. I think there can be no question now that that's actually what went on. So when we come back on the other side, folks, Wendy Rogers, candidate for Congressional District 9. We got lots more to come. Education, Second Amendment, health care, the national debt, and so much more. Stay tuned, folks. You're listening to Liberty Storm. I'm Shane Krauser, and we are Independent Talk 1100 KFNX. In studio with us is Wendy Rogers. She's running for Congressional District 9 against Kyrsten Sinema. These are great days. A lot of people stepping up, bringing solutions to the table. Wendy, who do you align yourself with most? So you have a lot of people out there that are hearing you perhaps for the first time, or they've heard you here and there and really trying to understand what it is that you stand for. Who do you align yourself with most out in Washington, D.C.? Is it the John McCains and the Jeff Flakes of the world, Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, the Mike Lees? Who is it?
Well, I'm happy to say that just this past week when I was in Washington, D.C., Congressman Trent Franks endorsed me.
That's a big endorsement.
I'm really honored. Of course, he's a great proponent of national defense, a great proponent of life, and the fact that the liberty that's exemplified in our Constitution has to be based on a respect for life. I've also been endorsed by Phoenix City Councilman Sal DeCiccio, who, interestingly, 60% of his city council district overlays onto Congressional District 9. He's been enormously helpful to me on the ground, specifically in the Ahwatukee area and the Arcadia-Biltmore area. Both areas are in District 9. So those are two people I enormously respect, both kind of at the local level and at the federal level.
Well, very good. When we talk about some of the issues that are going on today, one of the big concern is that of Common Core. And although Common Core wasn't put together by the federal government, nevertheless, you've got the federal government holding out the carrot. That is, if you accept the program, the funding will continue on. What are your thoughts about just the educational system in America, the Department of Education all the way on down?
I am an educational choice kind of gal. I homeschooled my children from the elementary years. They attended charter school for junior high and high school, and then, of course, Arizona State University for college. I think it's important that parents have choice and choose what is best for their children, not have government limit those choices. And when you have a situation where the president sends his own daughters to a very expensive private school, yet makes it difficult for Washington, D.C. children to get vouchers, for their parents to get vouchers. He's talking out of two sides of his mouth. And we have the Department of Education talking out of two sides of its mouth as well. education is local. It is a family parental decision. And I have been blessed with being able to have choice and homeschool and charter school. Arizona is really at the forefront of educational choice, and I will do everything I can to maintain that.
Now, looking at our national debt, we've obviously have a horrendous problem on our hands. You mentioned a little bit earlier that every man, woman, and child owns a piece of that pie, owns a piece of having to pay that debt back. What will you do once you go back to Washington, D.C., to eliminate that debt and get this train back on track to where it is behaving in a way that is fiscally responsible?
You first have to start with a balanced budget amendment. Secondly, you have to be, as I said earlier, unflinchingly resolute in deciding what needs to be paid for and what doesn't need to be paid for. You and I, Shane, sit down at our kitchen table every night, and we have to balance a budget in our family, and in my case, as a small business owner. And if I can't afford it, I don't buy it. Government needs to do that. And interestingly, about 4 months ago, I was interviewed by Bloomberg Business Week. And they said, Wendy Rogers, we could only find 3 of you in the country. I said, 3 of me? What do you mean? We could only find 3 small business owners running for Congress. What does that say? We don't have the fiscal sense, going back to Washington, D.C., of kitchen table economics. We don't have the ability for a small business owner to break away and serve her country or his country. And that is why I think we are in the mess we are in.
Yeah. It's easy to spend somebody else's money, and it's easy to go after other individuals, that is a society as a whole, and take their money and not really recognize the profound impact that it has on small business owners, on individuals going out and working for other individuals. I mean, we talked yesterday on the show about the minimum wage proposal. I mean, from $7.25 to $10.10, and the profound impact that's going to have on employment. You're not going to see an increase in employment. You're not going to see a decrease in prices either. So it's just unfortunate. You have so many individuals out there, and as you mentioned earlier, that are concerned really about one thing, and that's maintaining that office. And we've got to move beyond that. We've got to bring statesmen to the front lines and have them taking care of that. Immigration. When we come back on the other side, I want to talk about immigration. What do your solutions look like from your perspective? What will you do, and how will you do that? I want to talk a little bit about the assault on the Second Amendment. Despite the fact the Supreme Court's made some things rather clear, you nevertheless have the federal government resisting those attempts, and you have the various states doing some of those things as well. And just in general, how do we clean this mess up? Because I think we both come to the table here and say, we understand that there's a mess, and we understand that there are solutions out there. It really is a matter of how do we execute those solutions, and we need statesmen to step up, and stateswomen. So with that being said, folks, hey, stay tuned. Lots more to come with Wendy Rogers, Congressional District 9 candidate, running against Kirsten Sinema. And you can find out more information about her at wendyrogers.org. That's wendyrogers.org. We'll be right back, folks. You're listening to Liberty Storm. I'm Shane Krauser, and we are Independent Talk 1100 KFNX. Wendy Rogers running for Congress for CD9, that's Congressional District 9 right here in Arizona. Wendy, tell them about some of the events that you have upcoming and how people can get out and meet you.
Well, wendyrogers.org is where we list our events, and we're really excited about the Ahwatukee Spring Fling Easter Parade, which will be Saturday, the day before Easter, day after tomorrow. And there is a mile-long parade that my husband Hal and I will be in a car going through, which will really be fun. Yeah. And we'll have volunteers with us at that. So that the assembly time is 9 and the parade begins at 10 a.m. and that's all day. We're really blessed with how much community involvement and interaction we've been able to have. Last night, for example, I was at Arizona State University at the College Republicans group, which, of course, ASU is only a mile north of where we live. And there was just this palpable question bubbling to the top in the audience of, Wendy Rogers, what is in our future economically? We work so hard to get a degree, yet there's so much uncertainty. And they want to know that they have opportunity, just as the rest of us have had, to be able to get a job and use that degree. But because of the encroachment of government, because of the increasing regulation and taxation, there is a real worry. So as a result, they were excited. We had several people come up afterward to get involved in the campaign. We have our own campaign office, of course, at 3030 South Rural Road, rural and southern, right in the heart of the district. We have a lot of fun there every day. I do push-ups before I get on the phone.
I love it.
And we have a wonderful energy level there. And, of course, our home inspection business is in another suite. Jeff, you need to use our home inspection company.
There you go. Look at this, working together right here on air.
But, we're all worried for our future. And this is the way to get involved.
So you bring up a very interesting point as you were there last night at the College Republicans over at Arizona State. There is this concern about where we're headed, not really understanding if the hope that I embrace is false hope or if it's based in reality. Are people going to provide those solutions? Are we going to see serious change and restoration? What do you see better days coming in America?
I have to. I'm an optimist. I love my country. And I will not tire until I do everything I can to try to make it better. I got this question last night from one of the young women in the group, and they said, you've been blessed to have it all. You're a mother, you're a grandmother, you were an Air Force pilot, you've been an entrepreneur and still are. What would you say? And I said, there are two ways to look at success. You can look at success the way my opponent does, which is through victimhood and entitlement, or you can look at trying to succeed by every time you get knocked down, you just dust yourself off and you keep on moving forward. That's how I was raised. Right. That's the America I was raised in. Don't talk to me about how hard it is. Just get out there and try doubly hard, because that is how I have hope. That is how I see us succeeding as a country, and that's the America that I have imbued into my children and the America within which I was raised. One
of the issues that, of course, a lot of Americans are concerned about is immigration. We have a big immigration problem. 14 million plus, some estimates well over 20 million people here illegally. What would you do in Washington, D.C. to help correct this problem?
I see the issue as one of national defense. Being a retired military officer and a business owner, I understand why a family comes to the United States for more opportunity. We are a nation of immigrants. My forebears obviously were immigrants. We are a nation of laws, however, and that requires political will to enforce the law. And until we retake the Senate and still hold the House, we need to be able to stand firmly resolute in enforcing the law. And I have supporters, for example, who have shown me technologically that we can surveil the border. We can secure the border from technological lessons learned in Afghanistan and Iraq with forward-looking technology. We have the ability to secure the border, but we don't have the political will to secure the border. And that's what needs to change, and that's what I will do to my utmost to put in force.
Second Amendment. Second Amendment is obviously a big concern. You have a lot of individuals out there that are concerned that the government at all levels is seeking to deprive them of a fundamental liberty, that of defending themselves and potentially against a tyrannical government, being able to have those tools available to them. What is it that you will do to ensure that that right remains in place in light of all the attacks coming at us from all sides?
I think one leads by example. In my case, with the Second Amendment, everyone in my family has gone through the course, has a CCW. In fact, our daughter was under the age of 21 and had to wait to actually get the card. I shot expert every year in the military. I own a firearm, and I'm proud of it. And I'm proud of my country, and I'm proud of the right to bear arms. And so, as a family, as an individual, we set a role model example for being strong proponents of the Second Amendment.
And so do you see this as something that's it's going to kind of die down, or do you think this is a constant attack that's going to take place and you just need people to stand up and be vigilant?
I think absolutely we must stand up and be vigilant. Look at what happened in Nevada.
Yes.
My goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. That was tragedy still unfolding. It is not over. Republican Party. Problems in the Republican Party? Do you see I mentioned a little bit earlier, do you fit within the John McCain camp or do you sit within the Mike Lee camp? I mean, where do you sit? And I think implied in that question is that there is a problem in the Republican Party. You have a Republican Party platform that says one thing, and we're electing individuals, and they're going out there, and it's obvious they don't see eye to eye on the platform. Individuals that both have R's behind their names, looking at each other and doing things completely differently.
There is a frustration nationally when I talk to people in different states who want to contribute to a candidate because of their frustration with the party. But I tell you what I am very encouraged by, and that is our state GOP now. Our state GOP gets it now. We were just in a meeting last night, and there is a real coming together of the state GOP folks on all ends of the spectrum to try to make sure that we win, for example, District 9. And how will that be won? They get it. They know that it'll be an effort in turnout, not persuasion.
Talk about that, because I find that fascinating. It's going to be an issue of turnout, not persuasion.
Absolutely. If all Republicans turn out who are registered Republican, we will win District 9, and Wendy Rogers will go to Congress. Because this is the historic midterm opportunity, the 6-year point on the 8-year Obama time continuum, where it is Republicans' historic chance to take seats in the United States House of Representatives. And so the state GOP gets this. Robert Graham gets this. A.J. LaFaro gets this. Scott O'Connor gets this. And so as a result, there has been a wonderful coming together of all parts of the party to say, whoever is the nominee, we need to turn out every Republican. We need to do it diligently, like a Swiss clock out there, and turn out that vote. And we have the technology, and we have the political will as a party. We need to come together, and I'm really encouraged about that.
These are exciting times, Wendy. Wendy Rogers running for Congressional District 9. Again, it's wendyrogers.org. That's wendyrogers.org. You can find out all about where she stands on the issues, upcoming engagements. Wendy, I want to thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. It was an absolute honor. We'll make it happen again.
It's my honor.
Absolutely, Phil. Well, thank you so much, folks. We've got a lot coming up in the next hour you don't want to miss. We're going to talk a little bit about the IRS.